Industry didn't need an official press release. Jay-Z's movement said everything. The day after Diddy's high-profile arrest, Jay was spotted making back-to-back visits. One was to a criminal defense attorney. The other? A divorce lawyer. The message was loud and clear. Jay-Z was preparing for impact.
So this just in, Diddy allegedly has evidence of Jay-Z unaliving his mistress, Kathy White, and the reason Diddy isn't in jail yet is because he's cooperating with authorities to take Jay down with him. Kathy White was Jay-Z's side piece. Kathy was an up-and-coming industry publicist, fitness, and beauty expert when she mysteriously died at 28. Jay-Z was seeing her on the down low and got her pregnant. So according to a journalist, Kathy was going to tell the tabloids everything for the right price, but Jay found out and got her murked. Diddy is allegedly set to release the details of how Jay-Z unalived his mistress. Jaguar Wright hints that both the Carters might be responsible, but one of them is more responsible than the other, and she wonders if it's possible Beyonce's temper is a little worse than most people think, and Jay had to clean it all up for her.
According to sources close to the situation, Jay-Z isn't just worried about headlines, he's worried about handcuffs. With Diddy's legal nightmare accelerating, and federal agents seizing hard drives, phones, and personal archives, speculation is swirling that Jay may be next. The tapes, the testimonies, the party guest lists, all point to a circle of men who knew too much, and kept even more hidden. Online, the whispers are turning into shouts. Is Jay-Z lawyering up because he's guilty? Or because he knows Diddy has receipts?
And a federal judge has ruled the woman alleging she was raped by Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs can remain anonymous. The woman says both men raped her at a party when she was 13 years old. Jay-Z's legal team had fought to get the case dismissed, arguing his accuser should have to reveal her name, but the judge disagreed. ABC's Morgan Norwood has the latest.
A legal victory for the woman who is suing Jay-Z for allegedly raping her when she was 13. A federal judge ruling the woman can proceed with the case while remaining anonymous, at least for now. But the judge also chastising the lawyers representing Jay-Z, accusing them of trying to fast-track the judicial process by repeatedly filing motions to reveal the identity of the Jane Doe to have the case dismissed. The judge writing in a 5-page brief that the Carters' lawyers' relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks is inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources, and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. The court will not fast-track the judicial process merely because the counsel demands it. This latest legal twist coming after the recently filed civil lawsuit by Jane Doe, claiming that Jay-Z, whose real name is Sean Carter, and P. Diddy, drugged and raped a 13-year-old girl at an after-party after the MTV Music Awards in 2000, while an unnamed celebrity watched. Jay-Z has vehemently denied all the allegations, putting out this statement 2 weeks ago, writing in part, "This is a blackmail attempt." The multi-platinum artist, who was 30 at the time, now a business mogul with decades of hits to his name, with songs like Run This Town.
Yeah, I said it, we are. This is Rock Nation, pledge your allegiance.
His attorneys have denied everything about Jane Doe's account and pointed to some alleged inconsistencies in her story.
It's not just that this story is a lie and that it's not true. It's provably, demonstrably false. This never happened.
The judge writing that while Jane Doe can remain anonymous for now, she may be required to reveal her identity at a later date to allow Jay-Z's lawyers to collect facts necessary to prepare for trial.
Oftentimes, when someone is accused of a crime like this, the accuser doesn't want to be named, and if they are forced to be named, we have seen certain people decide to drop the lawsuit altogether.
Morgan Norwood, thank you. And Tony Busby, the lawyer representing Jay-Z and Diddy's accuser, says in a statement to ABC News, quote, "I will say that the coordinated and desperate efforts to attack me as counsel for alleged victims are falling flat. We won't be bullied or intimidated." And we did reach out to Jay-Z and his team, but did not get a response.
Social media exploded after the news of Jay's legal meetings hit the blogs. Fans are torn. Some are praying it's all just damage control, while others are convinced this is the beginning of the end for one of hip-hop's most celebrated figures. And in the middle of it all stands Beyonce. Silent, poised, calculating. Because while Jay was calling attorneys, Beyonce was already 10 steps ahead. Beyonce's quiet exit plan? Finally revealed. Behind the scenes, Beyonce has been preparing for a storm, not just emotionally, but financially. According to multiple insiders, Queen Bey began laying the foundation for a separation as early as November 2023, shortly after Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy first rocked the industry.
Now, Jaguar Wright is a well-known whistleblower. She has predicted many of the crimes Diddy is charged with today. Now, as of recent, she had an interview with Piers Morgan, and she did say that Jay-Z and Beyonce were implicated with Diddy. Now, let me know your opinion on the things she's sharing about Jay-Z and Beyonce.
I have 3 victims right now who are willing to give testimony about not only what Mr. Carter has done to them, but his wife as well.
She's referring to Jay-Z, Sean Carter.
They're a nasty little couple. They do nasty things.
What do you think happened with Kim
Keeping people against their will, putting people on planes while they're unconscious, just like Aaliyah got on that plane, unconscious. There's a lot of things that people don't want to talk about.
So essentially what she's trying to say is that Jay-Z and Beyonce are doing or have done similar things that Diddy is being accused of. What do you guys think about this? You think it's true? You think she's full of it? Let me know down below.
While fans were celebrating her Renaissance tour and upcoming projects, Beyonce was quietly shifting assets, meeting with private wealth managers, establishing legal buffers between her and Jay-Z's empire. Those moves weren't just business. They were insurance. From a blockbuster album drop, to a hair care line, a tequila brand, and a soon-to-be film, Beyoncé's recent surge in solo business activity now appears less like creative ambition and more like a warning shot.
There's just been a shocking revelation from federal authorities regarding a highly private and scandalous video involving none other than Jay-Z and Beyonce, reportedly taken during a wild party hosted by Diddy. Apparently during a Homeland Security raid on Diddy's properties, some rather intriguing discoveries were made, including compromising footage featuring numerous beloved celebrities caught in scandalous situations. Speculation is rife that Diddy intentionally leaked this footage to authorities as a form of revenge against the Carters, allegedly due to their perceived lack of support during his legal battles. It seems he's on a mission to embarrass them at any cost. Adding fuel to the fire, an unsettling audio clip allegedly featuring Meek Mill and Diddy has surfaced, courtesy of Diddy's former bodyguard.
Legal sources say her team advised her to separate financially from Jay before any subpoenas or investigations tied to him could potentially impact shared holdings. In other words, Beyonce knew what was coming, and she made sure she wouldn't go down with the ship. Some see it as cold. Others call it genius-level survival. But everyone agrees it's strategic. And now that Jay is caught in the legal crosshairs, Beyonce's quiet preparation is starting to make a lot more sense. Because when a power couple starts moving like chess players, it usually means checkmate is near. Cracks behind the couple, were they ever that close to the public? Jay-Z and Beyonce have always been flawless. The perfect duo. Black excellence. But behind the Grammy wins, Met Gala appearances, and lavish vacations, those close to the couple say the truth is far more complicated.
Now, I bet you want to know why Jay-Z and Beyonce's name keep popping up around the whole Diddy thing. Well, that's why I'm here. Now, first thing you gotta know is when somebody like Diddy gets taken down, things always start out as a rumor. Diddy has had rumors floating around for like decades. Well, Jay-Z had a problem. He right there in the corner, by the way. Jay-Z has had a few rumors himself, but more like speculation. People see Jay-Z in a picture of R. Kelly, they're like, I guess they both make music. Then Jay-Z with Harvey Weinstein. People are like, I guess they both do business. Then, of course, Jay-Z with Diddy. Now, hold on. Here's the thing. Jay-Z and Diddy go way back. Like back to the days when they were both coming up. So you could say they might just have a lot of respect for each other. But on the other hand, people are like, well, if you've known each other that long, Jay-Z, you must have known what Diddy was on. But Jay-Z has always had a history of keeping quiet, which brings us to Aaliyah. Now, I'm sure y'all remember R. Kelly dated Aaliyah when she literally needed her parents' permission slip to get married. Now, if I remember correctly, her parents got the permission slip and said, marry who? And that's how this whole thing got exposed. Now, a lot of people in the industry actually knew about this relationship because they would work with R. Kelly. They would be in the studio with R. Kelly. Now, according to Dame Dash, who listened closely, was Jay-Z's first business partner and also dated Aaliyah when she was 21. He said this is how it went. He said he didn't want anything to do with R. Kelly because everyone knew what type of timing R. Kelly was on. He looks over at Jay-Z and Jay-Z's out here creating collab albums with R. Kelly. But then he saw why. For starters, everyone had a crush on Aaliyah. People were waiting down the clock until she turned 18. But Jay-Z decided to get a head start. Now, there was absolutely no proof that Jay-Z went after Aaliyah, but people were like,
In fact, according to insiders like Storm Monroe, the Carters have allegedly been living separate lives for months, perhaps even longer. one foot in the brand, the other out the door. While their appearances together continued for the cameras, real intimacy had reportedly dissolved behind the scenes. Now that facade is crumbling. Some sources claim Beyoncé has been quietly waiting for the right moment and the right amount of distance to make her move. Every joint appearance, every coordinated outfit, every public kiss, for the brand. One insider said, a final curtain call before the inevitable fall.
It's a big week for Jay-Z. His Rock Nation is geared up to produce the most watched live performance of the year, the Super Bowl halftime show. And of course, he was there to cheer on his wife, who took home the coveted award of Album of the Year at this year's Grammys. So in light of all of that, he's also making a surprising move in his ongoing back and forth with Tony Buzbee. Now at this point, we all know who the Texas-based attorney is. You know, the same one who said that he had more than 100 accusers ready to file lawsuits against Diddy.
After vetting, we now represent 120 individuals who intend to bring civil claims in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases.
And of course, we know later that Jane Doe, who is being represented by the Texas attorney, filed a suit a couple weeks after this press conference accusing Diddy of raping her when she was just 13 years old. Then amended that complaint weeks later, adding Jay-Z, Sean Carter's name to that child rape lawsuit alongside Diddy.
Long-standing rumors of infidelity have never fully gone away. And accusations of emotional control and career manipulation? They're starting to resurface. Beyoncé's fans, once fiercely protective of their queen, are now looking closer at the signs. The lyrics, the interviews, the body language. Was it always just a business deal disguised as a love story? As more testimonies emerge and the tension thickens, the cracks in the power couple's foundation are no longer rumors, they're visible fractures. And what once looked like unbreakable unity now feels like a brand on life support. Because when love is traded for optics and partnership for protection, there's no happily ever after. Only exits. The testimony that broke it all open? It wasn't a headline. It wasn't a tweet. It was a single line of sworn testimony that shattered the illusion. Jay-Z was there.
A female celebrity was also mentioned in that complaint as well. However, her identity has since remained a mystery. Since that happened, first, let me say both Sean Combs and Sean Carter have denied those accusations. Diddy's team said, quote, in court, the truth will prevail, that Mr. Combs never sexually assaulted or trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor. Meanwhile, Jay-Z made a scathing statement of denial, mainly targeting Tony Buzbee. He said in part, quote, my lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Buzbee. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir, it had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. Now that statement went on to call Tony Buzbee a deplorable human, a man with no valor, and an ambulance chaser in a cheap suit. Now while Diddy sits in a jail cell awaiting away, pleaded not guilty to those charges, denies all the accusations made in the various lawsuits, Jay-Z and Tony Buzbee have been going back and forth with lots of motions filed, complaints filed, and accusations flying on both ends. The Jane Doe alleging she was raped by Diddy and Jay-Z went on NBC, where they pointed out consistencies in her account of what happened, including that her father picked her up after the alleged rape. Her father later told NBC he didn't recall that. She claimed she spoke to a celebrity there, but that celeb wasn't even in New York at that time. And photos showed Diddy and Jay-Z at different locations than the Jane Doe described. Now that interview happened in mid-December. By the end of that month, Jay-Z sued Buzbee for defamation and extortion. Jay-Z's legal team has also been pushing for the Jane Doe to not hide under anonymity. And of course, Jay-Z's lawyers have been trying to get his name off that child rape lawsuit or just have it dismissed altogether. Now a judge ruled that she can proceed anonymously for now, but scolded Jay-Z's attorneys for their combative motions and inflammatory language used against Tony Buzbee. Then in January, a legal petition was filed by a Texas man who is represented by Tony Buzbee, who also accused Jay-Z's lawyers of bribing people to sue Buzbee and his law firm. So a lot's happened. Now in a surprising move, Jay-Z's lawyer Alex Spiro is seemingly softening up on Buzbee. In a letter to Judge Annalisa Torres, the same one who previously scolded him, Spiro wrote, quote, Dear Judge Torres, we write on behalf of defendant Sean Carter to respectfully request that Mr. Carter's motion for sanctions pursuant to federal
Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Kelly, Sean Combs have one person in common, professionally and privately. Sean Carter. This has been a fist of tyranny that has been punching through our culture and our society for decades. It must stop until him and his cohorts are all held to account publicly and legally. The victims, they're not safe. I have 3 victims right now who are willing to give testimony about not only what Mr. Carter has done to them, but his wife as well. They're a nasty little couple. They do nasty things. That changes now, Sean. You have no choice.
Knowing what Diddy was on. But Jay-Z has always had a history of keeping quiet, which brings us to Aaliyah. Now, I'm sure y'all remember R. Kelly dated Aaliyah when she literally needed her parents' permission slip to get married. Now, if I remember correctly, her parents got the permission slip and said, "Marry who?" And that's how this whole thing got exposed. Now, a lot of people in the industry actually knew about this relationship because they would work with R. Kelly. They would be in the studio with R. Kelly. Now, according to Dame Dash, who listened closely, was Jay-Z's first business partner and also dated Aaliyah when she was 21. He said this is how it went. He said he didn't want anything to do with R. Kelly because everyone knew what type of timing R. Kelly was on. He looks over at Jay-Z and Jay-Z's out here creating collab albums with R. Kelly. But then he saw why. For starters, everyone had a crush on Aaliyah. People were waiting down the clock until she turned 18. But Jay-Z decided to get a head start. Now, there was absolutely no proof that Jay-Z went after Aaliyah, but people were like, let me see another picture. But apparently Jay-Z wasn't successful and Dame Dash started dating her when she was 21. Now, what does this all have to do with Diddy? It's the secrets. It's the, like what happened to Diddy, making people wonder. Nas came out, well, he technically didn't come out and say this, but while he was having his legendary beef with Jay-Z, he's doing a radio interview and he's saying, it's weird that Jay-Z be working with people that need a permission slip to marry somebody, R. Kelly. But again, rumors, kind of like what was happening to Diddy. But then this lawyer comes out and says, boy, do I got some news for y'all. And here's where it starts to get wicked. Now, he's going after Diddy. Specifically, listen closely, anyone that Diddy might have done something to, or anyone who's watched Diddy do some of these things and stayed silent about it. Now, first of all, the lawyer's taking calls from anyone. So theoretically, anyone could just call trying to get some money saying Diddy did this to me, Diddy should pay me. But in the lawyer's defense, I'm sure he's looking for people with proof. Honestly, I don't know him. He could be trash. Anyway, what he said next is what got people interested. He said, and I got some names. He said some wild names. Some names that will blow your mind. He's selling this. He's saying, yo, y'all finna wild out when you hear these names. I'm not gonna say it now, but y'all finna wild out. So people are like, Now, in Beyonce's case, it's just because she's married to Jay-Z and she's been in the industry for like 20 years. People are like, you must have known something. But that's all people have. Now, in Jay-Z's defense, he's famously all about the money. As far as we've seen, he's always been around Diddy for like a public event or when money's involved. And the same could be said for all the other people he was around. He could have thought, oh, R. Kelly's huge right now. Let me do an album with him to boost my name up. Many people have come out saying Jay-Z is a cutthroat businessman, kind of like Bill Gates, who I actually think is a sociopath, but that's a story for another day. And cutthroat businessmen will cross any line and work with anyone to get what they want. Because at the end of the day, to them, it's just business. That being said, that doesn't make this a good thing. That's why Jay-Z can still be prosecuted for watching crimes happen but not saying anything about it. At the end of the day, as you probably know, Jay-Z is rich. He's not going to jail for that. It would need an insane amount of evidence, and even then, he would still probably get off. But that doesn't really matter in some cases. A lot of times, reputation is the most important thing. So a lot of times, the courts will take a case they know they can't win or sign a deal just to get the rumor mill started and get people going, yo, why did Bill Cosby sign a deal? For those of you that don't know, Bill Cosby was arrested like 20 years before the big, allegations came out. They told him, just tell us you did it and we won't broadcast this. He said, absolutely. I need to save my reputation. People started asking questions. Boom, boom, boom. 20 years later, he goes to jail. But he actually did get out because the cops did say they were going to keep his confession low key, but then they used it against him 20 years later. But anyway, back to Jay-Z. At the end of the day, this could go any way. The thing is, Diddy's sloppy. He was bound to get caught. Jay-Z, not sloppy. So he would be a tough one to catch. But on the other hand, the FBI is pretty good at their jobs. And remember that lawyer from earlier that's going against Diddy and is gathering all those names on his alleged accomplices? Well, he also said that he gave a lot of his information to the FBI. And if Jay-Z's name pops up, he's in trouble, because how the FBI works is they'll take that information and they'll put it in a little vault with all the other information they might have on Jay-Z. When it's enough to lock him up, that's when they'll come out. So if you see the words FBI and Jay-Z in the same